Hey there, everyone. Thanks for coming back and joining me again for another inspirational interview. I am Kelly Schaefer, the creator and founder of the Concierge Academy, and I am here with my good friend Stephanie Borden. And I am delighted to have her today. We've done an interview together in the past, but we thought, why not do a fresh, new, upbeat interview? So I'm glad to have her with me today. So
Glad to be
as
here.
yes. So as usual, first start off by telling us who you are, your company, and where you're located.
Sure. So I'm Stephanie Borden. I'm located in Swansea, Massachusetts, which is southeast of Boston, on the East Coast. And my company is One and Done Concierge Services, and I have been in business since 2016.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
So let me pull up my questions here because I don't have them printed today. Let's see. So and if I remember correctly, we met back in 2016.
Correct.
Somehow I think you found me online.
I did. Hmm.
So why don't you tell us and share a little bit about the story of where you were working, because I remember where you were working,
Hmm. Hmm.
the career you decided to leave behind, how and why you decided to become a concierge, and then it would be fun to hear how you found me online as well.
Sure. Yep. So I had been in a very long-term career in banking, in different areas of banking. But at the time, I was in the last part of my career had been in corporate banking, working with big companies as kind of a client relation manager. Um, Keeping them happy, helping them work through whatever projects they were trying to accomplish, correct things that had gone wrong, from on the bank side. So a lot of sometimes it was pretty heavy stuff, because sometimes things went wrong a lot, and you know, so I did that for many many years, and prior to um, prior to 2015, I made a transition from that area to the bank to a different area of the bank that was more vendor related. When I, not long after making that transition, my job was actually relocated to actually closer to Boston, which means I would have had to commute to Boston. I'm not even going to give you any statistics about commuting in and out of Boston. But anyway, so I
I
really,
can
I
imagine.
yeah, it was not pretty. So kind of it forced me to take a step back and say, dude, I really want to do this. So for 6 months, I continued to look for something in the company. Um, I just couldn't find a good fit, and I was not commuting to Boston. So I had to finally make the decision that I was going to actually kind of do an early retirement and leave. So I did that, and always in the back of my mind thinking I had wanted to do something on my own. And it's interesting, my sister had just very offhandedly um, pointed out a woman who does concierge services locally. She's specific to um, college
I
students,
remember that. Yeah.
supporting college
Mhm.
students away from home and so forth. And she's really built what appears to be, a nice little niche for herself. And so my sister very offhandedly said, look at this lady. You could do something like this. You'd be great. And I looked at it and I was just fascinated um, by that. I guess the need, who would have known the need was out there?
Yes.
Who would have known there were people who are there to fill the need? And so anyway, she was kind of my incentive, although I didn't want to do specifically what she was doing, just the concept.
The
So
concept.
that
Yeah,
first planted
exactly.
the concept for me. And I thought, well, if this woman is doing it, there must be other people in the world. So I had made a commitment in January of 2016 that this was it. I was going to move forward with starting this business. And Kelly, I think, I mean, I don't know what I Googled, but I found you. And so I had looked at some other programs, and um, I just felt like, I just really honestly just felt like this was a good fit for me. It felt like it was, um, from the bottom up, enough of the details I needed. And, after having the initial consultation with you,
Mhm.
I felt like, there was good energy and good connection that I
Mhm.
could work with you. And so I decided to, start working with you. And quite honestly, I don't think I'd be here today if I had,
Mhm.
if I had chosen to go it on my own. Because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I say that all the time. You
Yep.
really,
And it's
I had
so
a conversation, yeah, the other day with someone who's in one of our current programs, and she's been in the program for like 6 months. And we just had the conversation about it. She's like, I just didn't have any idea what I didn't actually know. She's like, you
right,
go into it and you think, oh, this is easy and I'll just figure it out and blah, blah, blah. She's like, until you start getting into it, and so many things begin to pop up that aren't even on your radar that you're not aware
correct.
of. Yeah.
Correct. And your willingness, and not even willingness, because your foundation is, to me, the message that I received from you is that you your process is to share everything you know,
Yeah, I do.
for good and for bad.
And for bad. And it's like, do not do this,
Yes,
or we
exactly.
want to stay away from this, or I tried
Exactly.
this like 5 times and
Mhm,
I was flat on it. So let me
mhm.
share my experience with you so
Right.
you don't
And
make the same mistakes.
that for me, if I had the option prior to doing this, to get some formal instruction about something, to sit down and read a manual, or take a course or whatever, or just to learn from someone,
Hmm.
have a personal interaction, shadow somebody, kind of be a mentee, so, like, that's always been more powerful for me.
Yeah.
So the course, had the instructional piece, but what I feel was more important for me personally was to be able to hear from you. Um, this is how I handled this, and this is how I handled that. And keep in mind too, I had come from a large corporation.
Hmm.
I had peeps. I had structure, and I had people, and so now here I was all alone. Like, it's just a completely different environment, and I chose to be there. But I felt like I felt like you were a connection to you, and the academy were a good connection for me. It helped me, certainly stay on track, and know what to do and all that. But I don't know, connection is the only word that I can really think of, but I think it was good support and connection. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, let's just look at it for everyone who watches the recording, right? So, if you are personally in a position where you are evolving out of a job or out of a career, that's how I did it. I evolved out of a career. Most of us, that's what we do. And I think it's important for you to realize that it can be very scary at first, and
Mhm,
it's okay. There are people out there that will help support you during this transition. And for some people, the transition will be beginning to build this business on the side
mhm,
while you still have an income coming in, or even a
right.
full-time income coming in, and then cutting down and maybe have a part-time income coming in while you're still building the business up, because there's time needed to get the foundation of the business, the connections that you need, community awareness. People are like, oh, I'm waiting for my business cards and I'm waiting to get a website up, and I'm like, those aren't going to do anything for you. I mean, yes, they're great for people to go to, but those aren't the things that are going to bring clients to you. Community awareness is what's going to bring the clients to you, and
Mhm,
how you're going to show up for them. So not waiting to start that stuff is really, really valuable and important. And or are you in that position where, like Stephanie, she took, a kind of an early retirement, so she had all of a sudden her calendar just went, phew, it
yep.
just opened up, right? And then you were able to just kind of dive in. And that's sort of how mine started. Like, I started my concept, the idea, and the thoughts about it before I left my job. And then, like you, the universe starts tapping, saying, time to go, time to go,
Mhm.
time to go. I said, it's
Boom.
time to go, right? And the universe will slowly push you really to the desire that you have.
Right.
If your desire isn't there, the universe isn't going to push you in that direction. But if
Mhm.
that's the desire that you're resonating with internally, and you're being called to do this, whether it's this kind of business or any kind of business, or opening a nail salon or a hair shop, it doesn't even matter.
Whatever. Mhm.
Whatever these thoughts are that are coming to you that you are feeling more and more internally, the universe is going to align situations and opportunities to deliver that to you. It doesn't always come in the form we want it to, but it will deliver that. So I think it's really important for people to know that there are different people who start this type of business.
Correct.
And would you be willing to share, like, how old were you when you decided to do this?
I would be willing. Just let me do a little math. Oh, wow. So I was 54.
54.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
again,
So yeah.
not being afraid at 54 to do this, right?
Hmm.
Because I know a lot of people in their 50s, even 60s, that are like, I've done all this stuff for all this time. It's not rewarding. I want to be able to give and connect and deliver to my community in a way that feels of service. And this
Right.
just happens to be that way. It doesn't matter what your age is. Um,
Mm-mm.
I will say, I think the demographics in our industry, as far as the people providing the service providers out there, I want to say that they're, and I don't know what the statistics are, but I'd be pretty sure that most are probably over 35. Not most, but a lot are
Yeah,
over 35, 40 years old.
I would agree.
And I
Yeah.
think it primes you very well, because you have a lot of life experience. And when you have life experience, that allows you to bring that life experience into your business. And that is an asset that nobody can teach you. Like, I can't teach you how to create your own assets. You have your own assets internally within you, how you problem solve, how you are creative, the way you think of things, the way you communicate with people, just all of the life experience that you have. um, I don't teach you that. I teach you how to get clients and how to market and be
Right.
visible and to build a profitable business. But you already have all these skills inside you.
Mhm.
So I think I just felt really compelled to share that with people who might want to or aren't sure. And I know a lot of people, I'm getting too old for this. I even do it to myself sometimes. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite 50 yet, but I'm creeping up on 50. And in those moments, sometimes I'm like, oh, am I getting too old? And I'm like, what am I even saying to
Oh,
myself? Right?
yeah. Yeah.
We still have another 10,
And you're doing something that you
20.
love. So
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So you're
So it's all available to us at all times.
absolutely.
All right. So we know how you got started and so forth. But where did you get your first client? Like, what was the first request you got? How did you
Mhm.
get your first client? Where did they come from?
Mhm. Well, so learning from you, that you weren't going to just pass out business cards and hang flyers at the grocery store.
Hmm.
It was sharing with people, people that I knew what I was doing, and um, so I had a friend of mine, well, friend, yeah, more than an acquaintance, but she called me one day and she said, uh, I don't want to insult you. She said, but I have a neighbor who just got a puppy, and they're both working professionals, busy people, leave the house, at 7 a.m. and sometimes don't get back till 8 p.m. And she said, quite honestly, I don't know why they got a puppy, but she
Hmm.
said they were looking for somebody to come into their home and just take the puppy out. And she said, is that something you would do? And it was my first client, and even though my insurance policy prohibits dog care, I was
Hmm.
like, absolutely. um, and so I met with them, and so for me, so I arranged to meet with them, this couple. I went one evening, and I met with them, and I forgot a contract, didn't have a contract with me, but for me, the experience was great because we chatted, and when they hired me on the spot, and I had the code to their garage door, and so it just illustrated for me that maybe, I should have brought the contract with me and done things, correctly, but how much of an emotional connection it is if they meet you and they like you, and it feels like a right fit for both parties, that's that intangible thing that is not in a business card. And
No.
it was a right fit. It was a right fit for them. And I mean, I don't think they were desperate. The woman in the couple, she technically could bring the dog to work. She didn't like to, but she could. So they weren't desperate. But so that was Fred. Fred was my first client.
That's awesome.
And yeah, but it evolved from there. But I was just so happy, to be able to have that conversation with a potential client, to be able to present myself and tell them my story and what I did and what I would do. And I was just so happy to have that conversation that I didn't care if it was a cat. Yeah, I would have walked it if it was a cat or an armadillo or whatever it was. I
I
was
know
just
you're
happy.
like, I'll walk your goldfish for
I
you,
will.
right?
I was just so happy to get in front of somebody and be able to
Yeah,
have a conversation. And I felt, although I did forget my contract, I felt prepared because of what I had learned in the academy. So it was a good feeling. But yeah, so Fred was my first client. I
that's
still see him
awesome.
periodically. They've had some life changes, so they don't need a walker anymore. And the benefit of that is I actually took off a few pounds, walking him. I think it was a win-win.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
And
as I said, more importantly, it was just having that first conversation and getting in
yes.
front of that first client. It was really, it was a good feeling.
Yeah, and I know when you first start business, like those first few are so like you're like so nervous and so right? And at the same time you're like so excited. You're like, "Oh my God, it's working," right? Like somebody is going to hire me to help them.
Mhm.
And it's such a good feeling and you're like I remember like my first client and the one I not the resume writing one, but the one with the pool table, and I
Mhm.
was like, I had my bag on my shoulder and I was walking all proud into their house, and I probably couldn't figure out how to unlock the door and all the things that were
Yep.
like going wrong. I'd probably dropped my bag on the ground, and but yet you feel so, you feel so connected in some funny way to the mission, right? To the mission
Yep.
of what it is that you're doing. And I know that as time goes on and goes by, and as you're in business for more time and month after month and year after year, and years turn into a decade, sometimes you start to lose that just a little bit,
Mhm.
because it's not that it's like you always remember your first, right?
Right.
Just like your first love, um, you'll always remember that. And but yet if you can remember what that felt like back then, you can like call that into the present now
Recapture
as
it. Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
And so I know every time I get on the phone with a potential new client, I don't like doing all the paperwork part of it, right? And luckily we've systematized a lot of that at this point in comparison to when I started. But I know every time I can make that connection on the phone or over a Zoom conference and we do that, I know that I get that same like itty jibby happy bubbly, internal, your heart warms up, and you just feel it. It all gets warm and fuzzy, and I'm, and connecting with that in that
Right.
moment is really, really powerful.
It is.
So tell us briefly, in like within like 2 minutes, you started your business 4 years ago, and I tell people all the time, when you found me, somehow when you found me, you had the name of your business, you had the concept, you didn't have a business card yet, You were still actually working through finding insurance,
Yeah.
and no headshots yet. I remember I was like, Stephanie, you need to go get a headshot. I'll never forget being like on my back deck, talking to you on the phone. All right, where are we with this? Where are we that? Where are we with that? And that's when I did more one-on-one coaching that I don't do as much today. Today it's more in a group format.
Group. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the point of that being, so give us a 2-minute bullet point of where you started back in 2016. So you started in 2016. The recording of this is 2020. Where has your business evolved to since the name and the concept?
Yeah, so as you said, when we first started working together, I had the name and the concept, no website, business cards, or anything like that. So got through that process. I actually built my own first website, which I was very proud of, and it just steadily progressed, adding on clients, getting my contracts in order, getting the website up, finding insurance, and just getting the support I needed through that process and the steps. And so it's grown and evolved every year. I have some clients that I work with consistently. I have a mix of consistent clients. I have a mix of one-off clients. I have a mix of clients that I do things for twice a year. And again, in my mind, I thought it was going to be a certain way. But it was really important for me to learn that it's not going to be just one certain way. It's going to be whatever way it is for me.
Yep.
And that's okay, because we do try to do the comparison thing, which comparison is the thief of joy. I think we've talked about that before, but so it's grown. It's just grown to be what's right for me, which is kind of a mixture of a client base. A lot of my client work is referral. I have centers of influence that I work with, and I know, and we might reciprocate some services, but they just reach out to me. And I get a lot of messages that say, so-and-so told me I need to speak to you. So-and-so said I need to reach out to you. I need your help. And so that's where I am. I had initially thought that I would be in a team environment right now, that I would have a few people. I have a woman that I can use for kind of virtual stuff. She's got some business travel background, and it's so funny, since I connected with her and we've kind of decided that I would use her as needed. I really haven't had a lot of virtual or travel related any inquiries, but I have her. She's totally fine with being there when I need her. And but so I had originally thought I would have a bigger team, a team, and I haven't. I'm not there, and that feels right for me right now. Doesn't mean that I won't focus on growing an actual team eventually, but right now it's just me with a little bit of support, and
Yeah,
and I
we've
feel like I
talked.
have a sweet spot.
Yeah, we talked about that before, and this is important for everyone listening as well to the recording. Stephanie started. It was just her. I think for a long time it was just getting started, right? So you're not even thinking beyond. Let me just get this started and make it work. And then seeing everybody else around her and watching expansion with teams and thinking, and then getting to a capacity where she was like on the cusp of either need to bring somebody on, or I may have to put, a delay on services, and being in that position. And I remember you were ready to step into that for a little while. And then I think it just started to feel not right. And that's okay. You can think you want one thing, and 2 months from now decide that decision that you made over there, that's no longer serving you.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
you
no
can't,
longer where you are in this moment. And it doesn't mean it won't change again in the future,
exactly. I felt like
right?
I was forcing it to
Hmm.
happen. And so I felt like there was a lot of, negative back and forth between that I
Yep.
wasn't, I thought I could just, I thought I could relax and allow it in, and it wasn't happening. So then I was getting all angst about it and
And
feeling
then we
that I
try
was
to
doing
force it.
something wrong and I was
Mhm.
forcing it. So I just stepped back and I said, it's just, it's not right. But it's just exactly to your point, 3 months from now, it might be perfectly right, and
Mhm.
yeah, it will happen.
Yeah, and I know that during this time too, it was like you were thinking, you were going towards the team thing. It wasn't unfolding very easily. And there's a difference between easy and in flow, right?
Mhm.
Like you still have to work and you still have to work hard, but there's a difference between working hard and pushing. And you
Correct.
were finding yourself in that pushing mode, so you consciously, and we've talked about this on calls, decided to just be okay with everything right here where it is. It's perfect for where it is right now. And if you don't mind me sharing with that, during that time, then you have been able to be more present for, your daughter did some moving with the
Oh yeah,
job thing,
we
and
had a lot
and
going on.
and supporting mom while things were going on, and your
Mhm.
grandson that you get to babysit once a week
Mhm.
as part of your built-in schedule.
Yeah.
So to many people, so it was right. So the universe gives us what we most need, and you having a team in that moment might have been too much.
Correct.
And so you have what you have, which is perfect and perfectly successful for you,
Mhm.
to also be able to give to your family in the way that you needed. And being able to be okay with coming to that decision. And that's a great lesson for anyone that's watching this recording, is that only you know what is best for you. No one else can tell you what is best for you. And if that means you have a team of 20 people and you decide to cut it all the way back down to one, so be it. Nobody else has the right to have an opinion at all. It's completely what you personally need. And if you decide to shut it all down because you need to step away and then start it back up when you are ready to start it back up, that's okay too.
Mhm.
Um,
For
there's
sure.
more to and in life than just business. The people in our families are the most important ones, and sometimes we lose sight of that as in our strive for success. But yet we don't even know what success really looks like for us. We end up defining success by looking at others and thinking,
Right.
well, that looks good, and I think I want to have some of what she's doing. She looks like she's having a rocking life over there, so I want that too. And all we're seeing is the outside, but we're not seeing all the stuff that's behind it.
Correct.
And it's so important.
And that's what's really important for me in working with you
Hmm.
is hearing that message from somebody that I would look at and say, oh my gosh, look at what she's doing. But so just kind of knowing that it's okay with me,
Hmm.
it's okay for me to be okay where I am. um, I think you've helped me to kind of understand that it's okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So I don't want you to go into a lot of detail, because this isn't really about me. I'm really here about inspiring people watching this video. But you have worked with me in some capacity through programs and level 1 and level 2 and Ignite. You've been through pretty much everything that I have created since 2016. And we still have a connection. We still work together.
Hmm.
And again, this isn't about me. I just would like you to share why was it important for you to stay connected in this way for the past years?
Hmm.
Why was that important to you? And what do you think you got from that? But just really brief, again, not about me, but more about your experience and why you did. Because I know, like when I was part of a mastermind, I was connected there for 6 years. I
Hmm.
continued for 6 years because of the community, the connection, the heart to heart, the level 3 conversations that I could have. Um, and I didn't have that in other places in my world. And so somebody else created that for me and I was able to just step into it, right?
Right.
And I know that's always been important for me, and being connected is so important when we're building a business because it can feel so damn lonely. Every decision you make, every thought that runs through your head, all the things can feel so lonely. Um, so why has it been important for you?
Well, for all of the things you just said, but so for the community, huge for me. And as I said, I think especially at the beginning when I was coming out of a large organization and I really felt very alone, even though I was doing something I wanted to do. But for the community, for the support, for the real, I mean, the real technical, the detailed stuff, if I needed a key release form, and I didn't, you Google one on the, I didn't have to Google one on the internet or try to create one on LegalZoom. I could have, I pull it from the document library. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. So it was the form, the support, and being able, anything I needed from the heart to heart talks, to needing the forms, and I totally lost, but that's okay.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
and just the support of knowing that what I was doing was right for me at the time,
Awesome.
and getting through the, between the day to day and then the big picture too, understanding the big picture. But just having the support and being there is huge.
Awesome. Great. So, what is one piece of advice that you would, a couple words of encouragement that you would give anyone who is either in the beginning phases or just starting or thinking about starting? What is the heart message that if you channeled that heart message right now, what would that be for everyone listening to this recording?
Listen to your heart. Listen to take some quiet time and listen to what you're really hearing, and is it feeling right for you? So like, for instance, when I talked about connecting with you, when I connected with you, I felt like this is somebody I can work with, and I felt that very viscerally and very strongly. So it was easy for me to make that decision to join the academy. But likewise, any decision, whether it be about expanding and taking on a team, just let yourself feel if this decision you're trying to make feels right, or if it's being forced and it's not quite right, because you will ultimately get to whatever the right place is for you. And part of getting there is having to sit back and listen to those feelings, and letting them permeate and feel what's right. So I would just say, just be quiet and listen,
Yeah.
and it will come to you, and in the right guidance and support will help you hear it.
Yeah. And I know when I've asked the universe or God for support or information, or what should I do about this situation, and if you don't try to force the answer, you just turn around and poof, there's the answer waiting for you, right? Whether it's even in a subject line. Like, I've literally tried to make decisions and was really struggling with making certain decisions. And then I end up with an email from somebody I don't even know, but the subject line was literally like my answer. And I was
It's
like, that's some
very,
crazy shit right
yeah.
there, right? Because
Mhm.
the universe will answer us if we're willing to hear it and listen.
Mhm. I recently heard a quote that said, praying is talking to God, meditation is listening for the answer. So even if you don't actually meditate in a structured way, I think it just means just, taking quiet time, whatever that is for you, whether it's a walk in the woods or running or the gym or whatever. But,
Yes.
we can ask for what's right, what should I do? But if we don't ever stop
Yes.
and hear the answer that, somebody's trying to give us, um, it prolongs the decision making. So
It
just
does.
letting the answer come to you, and don't
Beautiful.
compare yourself to others.
Yes.
Says me, the queen of comparison.
Oh, we all do it.
Former queen, but yeah,
Recovering, right?
yeah,
Recovering
recovering.
comparisonist.
Yep,
Yeah, I like to say all
yep.
the time, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
There you
Um,
go.
so
Hmm.
you see that in all the typos and everything that I put out there. I'm just letting y'all know. I'm like, oh well, I missed 5 this week. Maybe next week I'll only miss 4.
That's right.
So, all right. So I think that was a beautiful way to wrap this up. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank
Thank
you
you for
for
having me.
inspiring everyone, especially those people who are on the verge of beginning and what that might look like. And yeah, and hopefully somebody got a nugget of gold out of this, because there were a lot of great nuggets in here that you can learn from if
Well,
you're willing to listen. So,
it
all
was
right.
great to chat with you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And until next time, bye.
Bye bye.